Okay, so today our learning target is 4C. Given two linear equations, students will be able to solve the systems of equation using elimination method, also known as adding and subtracting. Now, remember, you should be doing this after you complete your do now. The do now should be done first, and those two questions up top as well. So first one, do now, a quick review. We're going to use substitution method. Again, the right thing is to choose the correct variable. This has a 5 in front, this has a -1, so I'm not going to choose one of these two. I'm going to choose either the x or the y. I'm going to choose the x, so I'm going to get rid of this y on both sides, minus y on both sides. I cannot combine the 10 and the y together, so it's 10 minus y. These go away. X equals, and I know x equals that, so I'll write in 10 minus y, and I'll write down the rest of the equation. Bring down that 5, there's my x in red, minus my y value equals 2, and then I'll solve. 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times negative y is negative 5y, minus y equals negative 2. Combine my like terms, I have negative 6y, and I have the 50 over here, equals 2. And now, as soon as I'm done simplifying, now I can start moving things around. Minus 50 here, minus 50 here. Sorry, this should be a positive 2, and I wrote a negative 2. There you go. So minus 50 on both sides. This goes away, and I'll have negative 6y equals negative 48. And then I'll divide by negative 6. The negative 6 will cancel, and I'll have y equals positive, negative, negative, make a positive 8. Now, if y equals 8, y equals 8, y equals 8, y equals 8, that's only half of my answer because I always have an x and a y, and right now all I have is a y. So here, I see a y, and I know that means 8, so I'll have x equals 10 minus, instead of y, I know y is 8, so I'll have 10 minus 8, and I'll have x equals 2. So I have two answers, x equals 2, and y equals 8. My answer should look like this, a pair of points. Okay, same thing here. Again, you have to choose the right variable. I'm going to choose this y because it's only got a -1. This is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 2, this is a -1. Very, very easy to solve for. So I'll subtract 2x here, subtract 2x here. Again, choosing the right variable makes everything much, much easier. That goes away. Negative y equals 5 minus 2x. And I'll divide by -1. Divide everything by -1, the 5 and the 2. So y equals negative 5 plus 2x. Now, this one, I usually put the 2x in front, but because I'm not graphing it, I don't need it in slope-intercept form, not that important. So here's my y value, here's my y value, here's my y value. So instead of this y, I'll have negative 5 plus 2x. That is my y value. I'll bring down the rest of it. The -3 in front, the equal 7 in the end, and then the 2x in the beginning. I'll simplify before solving. That's standard 4. Distribute positive 15. Distribute again, negative 6x. There's my 2x. I'll combine my like terms, the x's. I'll get negative 4x. I'll have the 15 over here equals 7 minus 15 minus 15. And we'll have negative 4x, don't forget the sign, they go together, equals negative 8, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, x equals 2. Plug it into here, that's a 2, y equals negative 5 plus 2, and our x value we just learned is 2, so I'll do that in a different color, 2, and then I'll solve. Negative 5 plus 2 times 2, which is 4, y equals negative 5 and 4, y equals -1. Remember to always put them together. Oops, let's put that back. Y and our x value, our y is -1 and our x is 2. Make sure they should be an ordered pair. That's how our n numbers should always look. Okay, now for our learning target today, some people think it's the easiest one, and it is only if the equation's already set up for you. Now I want you to pay attention very carefully to these two items right here. And they're ordered the same. Now that positive y and that negative y, what's nice about them is if I combine these two equations, they will eliminate each other. That's why we call this the elimination method. So they have to be lined up very, very specifically. So let's go back. These two, I have my equation x's together, and then my y's, my equal sign, and then a number. They have to be in the same order, both of the equations. If they're not, it's not going to work. Okay. Now I'm going to add these two together. So when I add them together, 1x plus 5x equals 6x. These two are additive inverses. They are opposites. They will cancel each other out. They will eliminate. That's why we call this elimination method. And 10 plus 2 is 12. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. X equals 2. That was a lot easier than it usually is. But remember, that only works when they're lined up correctly. Okay. Now, if I know x equals 2, I can go back to either one of the original equations. I'm going to pick the easier one, the one with no other variables. So I have x plus y equals 10. And I know my x value is 2. And I don't know the rest. Plus y equals 10. So I'll just solve for y. Minus 2, minus 2. Y, not x, y equals 8. Ta-da. There you go. Okay, students do, just to make sure, again, we have to look to make sure that they're in the correct order. And it looks like it. I have my x's together, and then I have my y's together, my equal sign, and then a number. Okay, my y's look like they're going to cancel out as well. So when I add these together, let's do this in red. These y's cancel or eliminate. Why we call it the elimination method. They eliminate each other. 1 plus 1 is 2x equals 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Get x by itself, because my only variable that I've got. Get x by itself. 2 and 2 cancel. X equals 2. So x equals 2. There it is. Now we pick either one of the equations. Doesn't matter, first, second. I'm going to choose the second one. It's got both positive numbers. So x plus y equals 3. That means that my x, I already know, is 2. And I'll fill out the rest of the equation, solve for y. Plus y equals 3. Minus 2 on both sides. And I'll now isolate my y. That means, again, y by itself. Solve for y. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now you can always check your answers to make sure they work. Let's pick, choose the second equation this time. Let's do the first equation. X minus y equals 1. X is 2, then a minus sign. Y is 1, equals 1. And that is a true statement. So I know it works. Check your answers. If you're unsure, if you get an answer and you're like, that doesn't seem right, make sure you plug them in or substitute them to make sure they work. Okay, now this one's a little bit different, only because unlike the last ones, they seem to cancel out really well. These two don't look like they're going to cancel out. Now, they are lined up the way I like it. X's together, and then the Y's together, the equal signs, and then the numbers. Now, here's the problem. Even though the X's are the same, they're both positive. So if I add them together, it's not going to cancel out. Let me give you an example. If I add these together, like I did before, x plus x is 2x, and I add these together, I'll have negative 2y. Nothing left. In this equation, they canceled out. So now, if they're the same, I have to, instead of add them, I need to subtract them. Now, when you subtract an equation, what you're basically doing is you're changing the signs of every single term. You're going to distribute this negative. This is now a negative x. This is now a positive 6y. And this is a negative 11. Okay, that's what subtraction means. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract. I changed all of the signs. X and x, they can now cancel. I have one positive. I have one negative. Here I have 4y plus 6y is 10y equals 20, equals 0, not 22. This equals 0. I have a positive 11 and a negative 11. Now, when it equals 0, make sure that you still solve for y. That means then you get y by itself. Y should be all alone in the end. In order to get that, I gotta get rid of this 10. Divide by 10, divide by 10. 0 on top means 0. 0 on the bottom is undefined. So this is okay. This goes away. I now have y by itself. 0 divided by 10 is 0. I have a y value that equals 0. So when I have my x and my y value is 0. That means they're crossing at an intercept, the x-intercept. Whenever y is 0, that's my x-intercept. Now, if I know one, I can find the other. I'm going to go back to the original equations. I'm not going to go to this modified one. I'm going to go to the original. Okay, so let's pick the first one. Looks good. X plus 4y equals 11. I know that y is equal to 0, so I have x plus 4. Our y value is 0 equals 11. 4 times 0 is 0. X equals 11. And I'm done. X equals 11. There's my answer. Students do same thing, same idea. We now know that these two match. They're lined up correctly. X's, our y's, our equal sign, and our numbers. Remember, the thing about this one is these first two, the x's, they don't have the same, they don't have opposites, they're not inverses. So I have to change the sign to the entire bottom one. Negative 3x, negative 6x, and negative 33. 3 and 3, they cancel. That's what I want. I want them to eliminate something. Negative 6 and positive 4 give me a negative 2y. And then negative 33 and 19, I can't really do that on my head, so I'll do it on the side. 33 minus 19, I'll borrow, that makes 13. That makes a 2, 4, and a 1. Remember, when you subtract these two, the negative is bigger, so I have to take the sign of the bigger or larger number. So this should be negative 14 equals negative 2y. Divide by negative 2 on both sides, so I can isolate the y, solve for y. Y equals positive 7. Now I have an x and I have a y. I know my y is 7, so I just need to find my x value. Again, I need to go back to the original equations. I can't use this modified one. It doesn't always work. So 3x plus 4y equals 19. I just picked the first one. I know my y value is 7. And now I'll solve. 4 times 7 is 28. I'll bring down the 3x. Again, sorry, positive 28 equals 19. And I'll subtract 28 from both sides. Now what I'm doing now is, again, I'm solving this equation. I want the variable by itself. 3x equals negative 9. Divide by 3 and divide by 3. X equals negative 3. Now, a good way to check if you got this right is to, again, check everything. So we have 3 times our x value of negative 3 plus 4 times our y value of 7 equals 19. So let's just check to make sure. Negative 9, that's these two, plus 28 equals 19. And 28 minus 9 is, 19. Good. Got it right. All right. Again, we're going to scale ourselves, grade ourselves, see how much we understand or don't understand this concept. Think about how you did on your students do, and how much you understood, how much you didn't understand. Score yourself 1 through 4. I'm going to ask you as soon as... Okay, last but not least, silence your Google if you're working independently. Finish your essays. Can't stress that enough. A lot of you guys are slacking on your essays. Be careful. Collaborative, finish your equations and